this on YouTube. You sure? Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to this show today. This is Focus Africa series. I'm your host, Success Right. Today, I'll be discussing with some industry partners on this show today, and I'm glad you tuned in. My first guest today is Mr. Howell Larry. Mr. Howell, how are you doing?
I'm fine. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Success. Thank you for having me this morning.
Good to have you in the studio this morning.
That was fluent, though.
So, how have you been?
Fine. And you?
I've been very okay. I've been well okay. So thank you for joining us this morning. And to all my viewers across Africa, this is Focus Africa series. I want Business Day Media. I want to say a big thank you to Business Day Media for bringing this TV series live to all our viewers across Africa. So we'll get right into the discussion today, Mr. Howes, and we'll have to do justice to all the things we have to discuss about real estate investment in Africa and then get things going. So today, I'd like to give you a brief of my guest, Larry, on this show today. He studied mass communication and he is a certified practitioner and a member of the Real Estate Management Institute. Mr. Larry is the founder and group managing director of the Dem Group and Beyond Building Investment Limited, with over 15 years experience as an entrepreneur. His wealth of experience spans across hospitality, entertainment, real estate, agriculture, and mass media. I must say this is huge. He is a talented strategist and a business process engineering expert with multitasking skills. He is an enthusiast of organic food production and conventional real estate advocate. He ventured into agriculture in 2014, setting up the Game Farm Scheme 1 project that focuses on increasing food security in Nigeria. In 2015, he established Beyond Building Investment Limited, a premium real estate company redefining asset management, real estate investment culture. In 2016, Badam Farms and Resort pioneered the developing trend of compulsory farmhouses in Nigeria. Larry is result-driven, self-motivated, and resourceful entrepreneur with a proven ability to develop, strengthen businesses and management in order to maximize profit. This profile is very long. I can waste the whole day telling you about this, my guest, because it is well grounded. But there's something you need to know. Mr. Larry today have grown exponentially the businesses he started. But then is now a group consisting of Badem Farms and Resort, Badem Foods, Consulting, Habitat Badem, and a whole lot of other things he's into. He has appeared on several media platforms, and mainstream print media platforms, both locally and internationally. He has participated in various economic conferences, civil society, and SME development panel discussions, and served on several boards of profit and passion for developing products for emerging economies in Africa, closing the gap between the older and the younger generation. This remains on top of his priorities. Mr. Larry, I must say you've had quite an interesting journey in your career. And are there things I left out? Are there things you want to tell us more about you today?
No, I think you've said quite a lot. I just want to say good afternoon once again to everyone watching. It's an honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to having an interesting chat with Mr. Success. Hopefully we can all learn one or two things from each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. Larry, let's get right into the discussion today. I must confess that I'm looking forward to the discussions we are having here today. So, I'd like to quickly touch on a few things before our time goes out. So, you have investments in real estate, agriculture, and your wealth of experiences spans across hospitality, entertainment, real estate, agriculture, mass media. So, tell us more. Tell us more. How are you able to think
Okay. I'm presently the CEO of Beyond Building, and Beyond Building is a diverse commercial real estate company. So we are very interested in a lot of alternative real estate places, or a part of our sector that a lot of practitioners are not exploring. So we would like to be there. So when most of the time when people ask me about how come agriculture and then real estate and all that, and I was like, okay. I think one of the things we need to understand is in Africa, we usually define a thing by the byproduct. Most of the time, some people, real estate to them is just a residential building. And I do not think that the building itself, the building itself is real estate. So agriculture is a real estate business. The same land someone plants on is the same land someone will build on. So the same land someone will build a house on, someone else is going to build a plaza on, someone else is going to build a manufacturing center on, someone else is going to build a church, someone else is going to build a mosque, someone else is going to build a road. So what is real about it is the land itself. So the use of the land should not be the determinant factor of what would define the land itself as. So I can buy a mansion today and I'm like, you know what, I'm not interested in this mansion. Pull the whole mansion down and just build a stadium on it. So agriculture is an integral part of real estate. The honest truth is I want to believe to a large extent that the first business of real estate that God introduced to mankind is agriculture. So before the advent of commercialization, before we start to understand we can do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do this, the first thing we were doing is production of livestock and crop. And so we are still in the business of real estate, even though we are in agriculture. We just need to have clarity towards that. And another thing I'm very passionate about is the continent. So if you look at every continent of the world, you will see what they've played or what they've contributed to the world at large. So we've seen what America has done. We've seen what Europe did with industrialization and a lot of civilization inventions. We've seen quite a lot. Now we see Asia now, blazing the trail in terms of industrialization and also technology. But the honest truth is, every time we come to the table, what has Africa contributed to the world? So the question is, what do we have? Africa has 60% arable land in the world. Hardly is anything you can plant on this continent that will not grow. And guess what? We have the population, the same population some of this other continent used over time to develop their own countries. So what are we doing with ours? I do believe personally though, that Africa should feed the world. And because of the importance of food to sustenance of human life, that is why we are so important to the world. We have the manpower, we have the soil and whichever requirement that is required. God has blessed us with these things. But what are we doing with it? So what we are doing at Beyond Building is to start to act and stop to talk. So walk the talk, basically. So we got tired of it, we started to explore.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Larry, I like what I like about this discussion so far is the interesting aspect where you had to link real estate to agriculture. And looking at your profile today, you've had things to do with mass media, entertainment, and all that. Are they also linked?
Not at all. Of
All
course,
right,
I just
all
said though.
right. Let's move. All right, so let's move forward on the discussion today. So we've been able to establish the basis of our discussion. So what we're looking at today is the evolution of the real estate business in Nigeria and by extension in Africa. So today, let's try and focus more on bringing out the discussions around real estate business. So my next question is this: I've conducted a lot of research on development and on the development of real estate business in third world countries, or let me be fair, let me say developing countries like Nigeria. So I've discovered that there are massive housing deficits in major cities across the country. What plans do your organizations like yours have to fill the gap? Are you also partnering with government or other organizations?
Okay, thank you. Um, okay, I'd like to start from this angle. I think to a large extent, we all know that the figures about deficit is rising every year. And the honest truth is, practitioners are playing they are actually on the field to a large extent. The question is, why is the deficit not reducing as much as we have people on the field? So I think to a large extent that affordability is the key. So we have a real estate sector that find itself in a very hostile environment. The source of fund, the kind of fund we get, the kind of projects people want. And I also think to a very large extent, we have the people on the continent who are not, the people on the continent who actually just want, I don't want to offend anyone. I think to a large extent, our people have a budget of a BQ and they want the dream of a mansion. I mean, they want to buy a mansion. So most of the time, what you need to understand is that even the practitioners themselves, they are businessmen. They want to be sure that whichever investment they are putting in the real estate sector comes back on time, because some of these funds that these practitioners are playing with are very expensive. And so they have to practically build where they know that the ready market is. So because affordability is not the key, is not at the center of what we're doing presently, a lot of people in the continent or in Nigeria per se, they can't afford some of this development. So the masses, in quotes, keeps growing in numbers. And so the stream of income and also the economy is not expanding for a lot more people to come into the middle class. So we are developing things that a lot of the population, or large population cannot really afford. So that is why the deficit keep, expanding. But for us at Beyond Building, we are very open to working with government that are willing to create environment or make it a serious thing, because most of the time what we hear is they talk about it, but they don't really put in measures that would either encourage or stimulate practitioners to want to do a lot of affordable. Like in Lagos, hardly can you find an environment where you can really develop a lot of affordable. Because even the environment where you want to develop affordable, you discover that you're dealing with 5 to 6, 7 agencies, on just one project. And so by the time you're going to add all these bills, all this tax, all this, things on it, at the end of the day, an average person wouldn't be able to afford this land. I mean, wouldn't be able to afford this project. And so only the very few people who are moving from that lower class to a bit of middle class are the ones that are able to get this project. So I think that is the issue. So for us, we are actually more
Okay. Okay.
interested in commercial than residential for now.
Okay, so talking about affordability, what factors, I will come back to the government aspect because there are a lot of discussions we need to have around enabling environment policies and all that that's directly affecting another. So But tell me, what factors are directly affecting the increasing rate of land and property acquisition in Nigeria?
Okay, so there are a few things that I think we need to address. So I do think to a large extent that as a group of people, we have evolved in some areas, but our evolving is still running on a model that is not sustainable. So, and I will tell you this. So one of the things I've observed over time is that an average African or a Nigerian is suffering from something called landlord syndrome. So the syndrome is a systemic process put in place by our forefathers years and years before now to put measures in place to guide us and to be able to measure our performance, both in investment and in growth. But over time, we have evolved to remove some of these things that we thought we don't need, but we are still suffering from the same illness. So an average Nigerian or African man would make his real estate investment decision based on emotions. So if I am not a landlord yet, I am not a man. So I am going to make a decision that is going to be in my real estate investment that is just purely residential because I have to hand that title in order to have the social, what do you call it?
Okay, we lost your audio. We lost your audio, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now though? Can you hear me clearly now? I can hear you clearly. Hello? Yes, okay. Okay, good. So what I was saying is we are suffering from a syndrome called landlord. And it was sold to us by our forefathers. And the model through which they were running when they were putting these measures in place is totally different from what we have today. So our forefathers were either hunters or farmers. And so we built a communal lifestyle. They built a communal lifestyle and they were able to put some measures in place to guide what a son or a man in Africa in code should do part-time. I hope you are hearing me now, though. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good, good.
We lost your audio, yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Clearly?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. So, one, we have people who grew up being farmers. And these farmers built a communal lifestyle. And this communal lifestyle means that in that time, we were not going to school. We had to either hunt or farm in order to make money, to grow up to become a man. And so one of the measures then was until you own a property or until you build your own house, which if you consider then you're likely not meant to buy a land. Maybe your father or your grandfather or your great-grandfather would have built a settlement and say, okay, this is where you build yours. The same, what do you call it? Soil you're going to use to build a house is clay that is within the same vicinity. The wood that you will use in building this house is the one you have on the farm that they've left there over time to grow big enough so that when they cut it down, they can use it. Now, that is two. They gave you your portion. Also, they gave you a portion of land for you to farm on so that over time, you will grow capacity and grow resources for you to be able to say, okay, now I can afford to buy a roofing sheet. So over time, you build capacity as a man by trading your cultivation. And so you are saving money and you are making money. And when the time comes for you to build your house, you call your age group. They come together, which is what they call in my own culture, Aro. These guys come together and they will mold your house for you. And you build a house and you become a man, essentially. But over time, we have changed a lot of things in that space. We do not longer hunt or just farm. We now go to school. So we now have alumni association. We now belong to different things that we have used to cover this age group. But guess what? All an African man wants to do first is to own a house, even when that money or that investment should have gone into a real estate decision that would help him increase his asset or increase in wealth. So because we have a group of people who just want to own the title, because if I am not, my friends will see me as someone that is either not successful or that is not doing well. So we make our decisions from the emotional point of view. That, in order, limits the practitioners to explore a lot more of commercial real estate that we could all make much more money from. One. Secondly, we want to be landlords. So as at the time when we should still be a tenant and be growing wealth in real estate investment, we would rather sit over that asset because we want to be a landlord. So most of our decisions in real estate are purely made on emotions. And because we are extremely emotional beings in Africa, maybe, that is also affecting the quality of the industry. So the industry is not evolving as much as it should because
Objectively,
the people who are
objectively, Mr. Larry, I've had a discussion with a lot of real estate people, practitioners, and all that. I don't want to mention their name. They don't have the permission to do that. But I had a lot of discussions, and you from the discussions, you belong to slightly a different school of thought on landlordship and stuff like that. So, a few other real estate businesses say you need to own your own house. Stop living with your landlord and all that. Now you are saying that somehow the mentality of I must own my house is affecting how real estate business is evolving. Please, can you throw more light on this and let's get more details on this?
Okay, number one is real estate is not all about residential building. Do you agree with me on that? So real estate is not about residential building. That is one out of many. And so if we have practitioners that are only talking about that alone, that should tell you that there is something wrong. That is one. Secondly, also, I don't do what everyone is doing. So personally, so when you say you've had conversation with a lot, and so I can agree with you 100%. I don't do what everyone is doing. And that is why I do not have to advertise or make noise about the projects we do before it's sold out. Because we don't do what everyone is doing. But the honest truth is, what we are selling to our people, we need to start to review it. Because our sector is not evolving and growing at the rate that it should grow. Because we are only selling the same thing they sold to us. And we are expanding our people's ignorance about real estate investment by saying it is always all about you just owning a home. I will tell you a tale of 3 clients of mine, a short story. I have 3 clients. They work in the same sector. They got a bonus during the boom year of that sector. That is oil and gas, some years back. They all wanted to own a home. So these 3 friends and clients came to me and they said, I want to own a home. And I said, oh, that's fantastic. What kind of home do you want? So one said, I just want to own a fantastic flat. There is this new building that was raining then on the island. I just want to own one. The other one said, I want to own something a bit bigger than that, but I know that my money now cannot afford it. Third one said, you see me, I'm indifferent too, but as long as I am on the island, I am cool. I just want to leave mainland and be part of the big boys, in quotes, right? 3 friends. So one bought a flat with the same resources, right? The second one, who said, I just want to be on the island and just be part of the big boys, decided to rent a duplex at the central island area, Ikoyi, and you know what that can be, you know. The third one came to me and said, what would you do if you were in my shoes? I told him, are you going to listen to me? He said, yes. I said, okay, I will take this money of yours. I will go further. I will go and invest it into land. And I would allow that land to appreciate. And I would convert the land. Let us give it 3 years. Let us see what would happen to this land. So for people who are not in Nigeria, or for people who are in Nigeria or who are in Lagos, Nigeria, they will understand how island works. So we went as far as Shogotedo that time. So we bought this dude 10 plots of land with his resources. 3 years later, we did the valuation of the first guy who owned a flat. That flat has increased with 2 million because at the time when they sold it to him, it was a boom time. So inflation and all that economical factor has set in. So it was actually a bit overpriced when he bought it. So his growth after 3-4 years was just 2 million. And he was paying a service charge of almost 700,000 per annum on that. Don't forget, the house you live in is an asset, is not an investment. So the second guy has paid rent 3 times. Where he was staying, he was a big boy. And suddenly, the same resources he had then is almost over. The third guy said, Larry, what is my asset? Suddenly, God smiled on us, and ShopRite suddenly came to that axis and said they wanted to develop a mall, Novera Mall. And the value of the land bought at 3 million 3 years down the line just jumped up to become 12 million. Follow my story. So we sold 10 plots. 10 plots at 3 million per one. Calculate what that figure is. We came back to the front and we came further down and we bought this guy a 70 million fantastic duplex. His initial investment, if you calculate, was 30 million. Now, the guy had much more money that we were able to reinvest. We went further. And his asset was still nothing less than almost 50 million, even after we have bought in a duplex out of his investment. Now, I want to tell you something. What happened to this retail of my clients is, one, was being extremely emotional at earning that title. If I'm not a homeowner, I am not a man yet, and I'm not successful yet. The other one decided to lease a place, trying to paint a picture of success, because if he's not, people in his environment will think it's not happening. The third guy decided to listen to an expert who says you can become a landlord, but don't let that guide your decision first. Since what you even have is not even enough for the kind of house you want to live. Now, he decided to listen. And now today, living in the house of his dreams, still having his real estate portfolio growing. So if you bring it back, you will see that most of the time, what we are selling to our people is not going to allow them increase their real estate investment. It will only end up satisfying us, practitioners who actually are businessmen. You can't blame us, right? So I'm saying this because I'm on. So you can't blame us. We want to sell to you. But when we know that your decision is just purely emotional, we will ride on that emotional appeal to sell what you want to you. But the question is, what we are selling to you, will it eventually make you grow in real estate investment? One. Secondly, thirdly, the real estate sector would keep growing lean because we are only flogging one part of it, which is residential. You are not a homeowner, you are not successful yet, you just want to keep being a tenant and your landlord. Please, I have clients today who are tenants, who the rent they own from other properties that they own is paying their tenancy where they are. So they are tenants that are actually landlord, but they are not sitting on their assets. They made their money to be working for them by making sure it is an investment first. Your uncles that are living at Ikoyi, Banana Island or at Ikoyi, did not start living there. They started from small and they grew their wealth over time before they came to that central place where they're staying. How come they are selling it to us now that our agenda should just be about owning a home? Why are we all about owning a home when we are getting poorer? Why would I just want to own a title when I can make more money than that title and still eventually own that title? I think that is my submission on that.
Mr. Larry, this works for me. I like your perspective on this matter. In fact, I'm looking at one book at your shelf called Disruptive. So your ideas are very disruptive, positively. So, I mean, if everybody, or at least 50% of the practitioners are thinking like you, we're going to create more wealth in this industry than just selling to make money directly. So this works for me, and I'm sure it works for our viewers. That, I actually asked you that question so that you can explain it further. I understood where you are coming from. Now, looking at the discussions we had so far and your ideas on creating wealth, even while doing the real estate business, tell me, how easy or difficult is it for one to really own a piece of property with your investment?
Okay. One interesting thing is that it's been recorded time immemorial that success does not come easy. So hardly do you see anything on, or everything you see working is riding on the wings of someone's energy or commitment to something. Nothing works on its own. Anything, whether it's an economy, whether it's a company, whether it's a structure, whichever thing you see that is working, someone or some group of people are pushing that agenda. And so the first thing we need to understand that is it is not easy. We accept that, but it will be worth it if we are consistent with it. Secondly is the kind of investment or project we develop. They are very affordable. You only need to understand that it is not about me alone, in quote, owning it. It's about us owning it. I would rather be part of own a piece of a moving vehicle than own the entire abandoned vehicle. So because when it's not moving and it's not working, it's not adding any value. So I would rather not have a Rolls Royce that is parked with a knocked engine when I can have a Toyota Camry that is solid, that is moving, and if I enlist it with Uber, something is coming, or Taxify. You understand? So
by the way, none of them. By the way, none of them is affordable, as in easily affordable. Go ahead.
Our idea of real estate is, can we do it together? So one of the things we are doing is that we're looking towards more commercial real estate investment. Like right now, we're on an agenda to push 1,000 retail stores across Lagos metropolis. You know, we are looking into redeveloping most of this market into something more ultra modern and yet affordable. Because I think most of the issues is that when we even say we want to do some of these projects, they are not affordable. So at the end of the day, both investors and the clients are not happy. Clients likes it, they can afford it. Investors can recoup back their capital. You know, so like I said, affordability is key to whichever thing we want to do. So for us, it's always about, can we have it as a group of people? What's going to stop maybe 40, 50 people owning a mini mall? You understand? And everybody is earning their dividends annually on it. What's going to stop us from that? Why do I have to wait till when I own, what do you call it? When I own a two-bedroom, when I can actually own when I can co-own a floor of a commercial building in the heart of Oshodi Market, where these people are constantly looking for more space, you know, where I don't have to advertise to sell what I'm developing, you know. So one of the things we are doing, look at pandemic. Pandemic came and a lot of people thought real estate sector was shut down. It wasn't shut down. People were in their homes. That is real estate. Some of us who have commercial development, who have commercial agro development, our agro estate was producing and people were buying. So the honest truth is, as in real estate investment, you have to be sure that your portfolio is diversified. It's not just, so don't get me wrong, it is not wrong for you to own a home. It is not wrong for you to have an investment in residential. But can you also make sure that you have more? so that when a sector is affected, at least another part of that sector could help you balance up, you know, because it's been proven over time that real estate is one of the best way of growing wealth. So affordability is key for us, and all you need to do is to reach out to us if you're interested in being an investor or owning anything as part of what we do. What we do are very affordable and yet give you higher returns.
All right, Mr. Larry, I'm sure we're going to host you more other times on this show. So as we begin to round up on this discussion, I need to ask you about 7 key, very important questions. So I don't know how you're going to cope with that in the next 5 minutes, but then this is very, very important. This is very, very important for me and for a lot of viewers. Usually we have a lot of questions coming in from people before the show starts. And so you are going to be answering this question and they're going to be learning from you. Now, there are a lot of emphasis on real estate business in urban cities. In fact, housing interventions from private sector has had a huge influence on urban development. But shouldn't we really start thinking of creating things in rural areas to help with development?
Okay, I think you've answered the question. That's the honest truth. The honest truth is that's the way forward.
Because right now, a lot of emphasis still are in urban cities. So we want to see real estate practitioners moving into rural areas. Is that happening?
Okay, so the question, it goes back to the people. So the honest truth is that an average Nigerian, you know, assume that if I'm not living in the metropolis, if I'm not in the urban city, I am not living well. That is one of the problems. So if you understand what I'm saying, we need to have a shift in our thinking. That is one. Secondly, also, it is easier for most of us to travel abroad, drive 3 hours or almost 4 hours, or be in a train for hours to go into metropolis or to go to another town, basically. And we didn't see anything wrong with it. Do you know why? Because there are infrastructure. So one of the things that is going to drive the urbanization of real estate, where we can also grow other cities around the metropolis, is going to be based on infrastructure. We need to have good roads. We need to have power. We need to have security. The issue is that most of the people don't want to stay in some of those areas because of these factors. If I stay there, there is no power. If I stay there, there is no infrastructure. If I stay there, there is no... Have you seen the analysis of what is happening between Lagos State and Ogun State with commercial real estate? Look at what you guys posted on Business Day a few days ago. 72%. If you drive and you're leaving Lagos from Mowe, from just Berger, all the way to Shagamu, all you see left or right springing up is industrial hubs, manufacturing companies. And that is helping Ogun State to increase in IGR, because people now see that, you know what, I would rather go to this place that is close by, where I can easily get my raw material faster, and at the same time, get my product out of Lagos quickly, and also pay lower rates. Because in Lagos, you will pay much more. And so that is what we need to start to focus on. And guess why? Because Ibadan Expressway is being built. So the more we expand in infrastructure, the more we have train system, the more we have power and security guaranteed in these areas, the easier it will be to start to convince our people to move towards that axis and say, you know what, there is nothing I'm enjoying here that I can't enjoy there. So it will be easier for most of us to start to develop in those areas. So, but I think largely, people need to understand that living in the metropolis does not actually guarantee whether I am good, whether I'm successful or not. And the government also needs to invest more into infrastructure, opening up more cities.
All right, sir. Okay, so let's spotlight Africa. Let's go and put and shed more light on what's happening in Africa in terms of real estate and how that can help with development and all stuff like that. Now, going by what is happening in most European countries, more recently, Grenada, we have some real estate consulting firms selling investment, citizenship by investment, and stuff like that. Now, do you think it would be a bad idea for our lawmakers in the continent to actually enact laws that will, emphasize or that will make it compulsory somewhat for foreign investors to invest in real estate in Africa before they're able to do business here? Because right now in some European countries, you need to invest in real estate or in something else before you become a citizen, before you're able to live in those countries and do business. Should it be a strategy also here in Africa to help us develop?
Okay. The first thing you need to consider is that why would I want to be a citizen of your country? I would want to be a citizen of your country because there is something valuable in carrying that passport of your country. So the first thing we need to know is that the citizens of this country that are using investment to lure investors into their real estate already have value. So the value they have, their citizens are enjoying it. And so investors are motivated or interested to also want to enjoy that, because if I become a citizen of this country, this value that these people have, I would enjoy. Don't forget that money only flows in direction of value. So if Africa wants other, nationals to come and invest into our country before they can become a citizen, we must be people of value. So I would want to invest in Dubai because being a citizen of Dubai guarantees some stuff. And so when I invest in the real estate, which is the condition given to me, I would be on my way to owning that passport because there is a benefit. So if the citizen of your country are not enjoying any benefit, if the practitioners in that sector in your country are not enjoying any benefit, how do you intend to introduce it to outsiders? So the first thing we need to do before we start talking about our people, understanding that selling this, it sounds good, but the honest truth is that the person you want to sell for would only want to buy if there is value. So we need to go back to the structure and start to have a developmental framework rather than a promotional framework, where our people can know that this is our long-term agenda. Can we first stimulate interest internally? Let value comes on who we are. Let people see Nigeria has so much value to offer the world. But the problem is, and also the African continent, so much value from Rwanda to Angola, to Ghana, to Kenya. There is so much value. So until our leaders start to first position us as people of value, not the ones who are coming for your head, where if you carry our passport, there is so much value that you are going to derive being an African. Then we can start to talk about, if you want to carry this value, if you want to belong here, you need to first invest into something here before we can offer it to you. But at this rate, most of our people are going the other way around because they would rather go there and derive value than stay here to derive value. So I think that is the first thing we need to deal with before we now talk about selling ourselves to the foreigners.
Mr. Larry, it's been an amazing time having a chat with you in the studio today, and I am very sure I want to have you back on this series to discuss more on real estate development, evolution of real estate in Nigeria and in Africa. There's been a lot of reactions on YouTube, on WhatsApp, on our Facebook channels, and because we don't have time again, I'll be directing these questions to you later on so that you can provide answers and possibly link up with these people asking questions. Well, let me quickly just recognize a few people on YouTube. I want to recognize Pastor Edwin George for joining the discussion today, Usman, Expression iTech Shop Hub, and a whole lot of other people on our channels this discussion today. Thank you so much. And just before I let you go, I'm 1 minute behind. Tell us how we can reach you, sir.
Okay, I think people can follow me on social media across board. It's Larry Howells. People can send me emails, larryhowells@yahoo.com. I am very accessible. Hit me up and let us talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. And to all my viewers across Africa, I want to appreciate all of you for always tuning in every Saturday by 12 noon on Focus Africa series. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Business Day, for this opportunity to reach out to Africa through this video. Until this time, next week Saturday, my name remains Success Bright, your host.
Thank you, sir.